Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who rule well. Peace, love, salutations, and mercy be unto the hopeful elect. Now, I'm a little late on this one. This article was posted, 3 days ago in regards to Mastercard joining the blockchain Digital Identity Alliance ID 2020. Which what you're going to find out is that Esau has had an agenda to microchip the world and to bring about the brain chip and the microchip and all of the things that goes with it, all of the gimmicks that goes with it. Things such as, retina scans and fingerprint sensors, fingerprint scans, all of those things work together to build what is known as the Mark of the Beast system. And ID 2020 is nothing more than, a part of the Mark of the Beast system. And the fact that Mastercard, which other companies such as Mastercard are going to join it, which in this video, I'm going to do my best to explain what the ID 2020 or the Digital Identity Alliance ID 2020 is. Because what they want is a one world system where everyone is on that system and that there's nothing hidden from them and that there's nothing that they don't have control of. So they want to control your money. All right, they're doing this to make it seem as if this is for your benefit, to protect your identity. But really, it's to get you on their system so that they can have complete control over you. All right, so the Mark of the Beast is here. The Mark of the Beast is the RFID chip. But you're going to have things that work in tandem with the RFID chip that helps Esau, Edom, sustain their control. And that's going to be things such as biometrics, all right, which biometrics goes into the measurement of the body, it goes into the measurement of life, so it's dealing with facial recognition, it's dealing with eye and retina scans, all right, it's dealing with fingerprint sensors and fingerprint scanners, and things of that nature. But ultimately, that RFID chip or the brain implant that they want to put inside of you, all right, that right there is going to be what they push as the thing that completely secures your identity. Because when it comes down to, let's see, digital identity, it can still be hacked. For an example, you can have a Facebook page, which Facebook is known for doing data mining. All right, data mining is when a company collects a host of data on the people that are a part of that company. And not only Facebook, but all of these companies are doing this. And the reason that they're doing it is to build up a database of information on you so that when they do roll out the RFID chip, all right, that the people that take the RFID chip, they can be right inside of their database already. But someone can hack your Facebook page. Someone can steal your credit card. Even though Mastercard is joining, this blockchain, someone can still steal your Mastercard and use your Mastercard. Here it is. They went from swiping, all right, and you putting in a pin, all right, to secure your data, to putting a chip inside of your card to where you don't even have to, in many locations, put your card inside of the system. All you have to do is put it near it and it will scan it. And the reason behind that is to get you used to that, because eventually that credit card is going to be inside of your hand. Your ID is going to be inside of your hand. Your social security card and birth identity is going to be inside of your hand. Everything is going to be on that RFID chip. Now, if it's inside of your hand, they're going to say, well, that limits the capability of someone stealing your identity. So let me read on within this article. It says, yesterday, the payments firm Mastercard announced it's joining the ID 2020 Alliance to explore digital identity solutions. The ID 2020 Alliance was founded by Accenture, Microsoft. So here it is. How is it Microsoft is turning up in all of these different things that are going on, in the world? Here it is. They got a patent coming out, patent 06060606. All right, here it is. The former founder of Microsoft, who supposedly stepped down, all right, is behind all of these vaccine organizations. All right, is funding, different agencies such as the WHO or the CDC. How is it that they have their hand in all of these things? Well, it's because there's an agenda, all right? And the way that Esau works, Esau sits and he meditates about things. All right, he runs simulations and things as such to come up with the best way of, getting his agenda to go forward. So these are things that they planned. This is the secret counsel of the wicked. All right, which Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is going to make this thing come to naught. All right, and as soon as they think that they're about to, or as soon as they feel or get to the point where they're about to establish their new world order, that's when the Lord is going to bring them down. All right, at the end of the day, all right, Yahweh Bashmiel Shai that's working on the mind of these leaders. Because another question you can ask too, okay, well, look, if all of these things fit what the mark of the beast is, why would Esau still go this route to perform these things? Well, the reason being is because this is Yahweh Bashmiel Shai show. So he has the devil's heart hardened to perform these things so that he can glorify and magnify himself in bringing them down. So reading on, it says the ongoing pandemic has led to the emergence of digital-only solutions that require users to provide who they are. Digital identity could play a significant role in facilitating access to a range of digital services. So this causes you to think, if you have wisdom, if you have understanding, it causes you to think, well, was this planned out? And the truth of it is, and what I mean is, Deceive It 1984, all right? And at this moment, you should know what that is. All right, that's a running saying with the apostles and elders right now. That's what they call this virus that's going around. Deceive It 1984, the COVID 1984. This was something that they purposely put out there. This was something that they purposely did so that they can bring about the system. All right. The agenda is to collapse the dollar bill and to bring about a new currency. All right. Esau at this apparent time is giving all of this free money out. But when you give out free money, all right, that money has to come from a source. And if it doesn't come from a source, then that will lead to a deflation within the currency. A hyperinflation. All right. It will cause it to bubble. And then eventually that bubble has to pop. And that's what they want. They want to pop that bubble. All right. They want the currency to lose its value so that they can roll about this new system. We must work together to establish consistency and common standards across the globe that can make this a reality, addressing real challenges faced by people every day and sparking continued innovation, said Ajay Bala, President Cyber and Intelligence of Mastercard. Last year, Mastercard said it was exploring decentralized digital identity for verifying financial transactions, government interactions, and online services. It is a well-established fact that digital identity could enable banking and other services from people with no physical paper or credit history. So here it is. You have no physical paper. You have no credit history. All right. But this ID 2020 can enable banking for you. Why? Because the mark of the beast is going to be the new currency. All right. So if that chip is inside of you, then you will be able to buy or sell, The World Bank estimates over 1 billion people lack any form of legal recognized identification. This hinders their access to vital services, including healthcare, social protection, education, and finance. So here it is. This is E trying to play as if he's the ultimate humanitarian and that he cares for the people. No, what he wants to do is get everybody in the world upon this new system, which is the mark of the beast system, so that they can track you, so that they can know your whereabouts, so that they can have a total control over you and over your finances. If you control someone's money, then you control their life. And here's a scripture to back that up. All right. Because you need money in order to be able to buy and able to buy food, to and able to provide shelter, in order to buy water. All right, because already at this time you have to go to your enemies for one of all things, right? All right, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, or Ecclesiasticus, which is Sirach. All right, the 34th chapter. In verse 21, it says, "The bread of the needy is their life. He that defraudeth him thereof is a man of blood. He that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him. And he that defraudeth the laborer of his hire is a bloodshedder." So if you have this RFID chip, Esau will have this control over you to be able to take away your bread at will, to be able to take away your livings at will. All right. If at any chance, you go up against his system, or you feel as if you're not complying, all right, to his new world order, all right, to his system, all right, he will have the power to take away your bread. He will have the power to take away your living, all right, your money. All right, he will have the power over your life, all right, in order to, kill you or to keep you alive. When at the end of the day, really, it's the Most High Heavenly Father that has the ultimate control. But Esau will have control over those things that you need for basic necessities, man. All right, so going back to this, you may be asking yourself at this time, what is ID 2020? Well, a quick Wikipedia search, and this came up. It says, a non-governmental organization which advocates for digital identity for the billion undocumented people worldwide in underserved groups like refugees. Dakota Grunier is the executive director of ID 2020. The NGO was relatively unknown before being publicized because of misinformation related to the COVID-19 pandemic by conspiracy theorists. And you see how they always try to throw the conspiracy theory in there to try to make something seem, negative. Reading on, it says, in May 2016, the United Nations headquarters in New York, the inaugural ID 2020 summit brought together over 400 people to discuss how to provide digital identity to all, a defined sustainable development goal, including to 1.5 billion people living without any form of recognized identification. Experts in blockchain and other cryptographic technology joined with representatives of technical standard body to identify how technology and other private sectors expertise could to achieve the goal. In 2019, ID 2020 started. So here it is. Back in 2016, they had something called ID 2020. What is 2020? 2020 is the year in which they chose to roll this thing out. So there's no surprise that this COVID-19 84 outbreak, came in 2020. It says in 2019, ID 2020 started a new digital identity program in collaborations with the government of Bangladesh and Vaccine Alliance Gavi. So what is ID 2020? ID 2020 is a system that they're putting together to get, the billions, of people upon the planet Earth, all right, get them on a system that will identify them, and not just with regular identity, but with digital identity. All right. Now, the question is, what is digital identity? This is a website from, this is an article from a website called ZDNet. And it says ID Management 101, how digital identity works. So this is explaining how this digital identity works. All right. Which I'm going to put these three within the description box, and you can go ahead and read it and verify and check and reference, the things that were brought out within this video, and you can see it for yourself. So I'm going to read it as fast as I can. It says the integrity of the global distributed computing network depends extensively on how well users' digital identities can be protected. As difficult a problem as it seems, it is actually much harder. So here it is. You got digital identities on the web, but you got something known as hackers. All right. You got people that can steal identities. All right. There's people that do credit card fraud and they steal identities all damn day. And social security numbers and other private information. All right. From certain groups that are set up to protect your identity, which I believe that those things are allowed to be done. All right, for the sake of bringing about something that they would consider a more stronger, system, and that system is going to be the RFID chip system, and you're going to find out, all right, by way of me reading some of these things, why that is said so. In a person-to-person business transactions, all right, when the other person doesn't know you or know who you are, which they could have just said know you, because know you or know who you are, it's the same damn thing. She may accept credentials that vouch for your identity, such as your ID. In many cases, you may go to a government agency. They may ask for your social security number. They may ask for, different forms of pieces of mail to prove that you live at that address that you say that you live at. All right. It says identity management in computer networks is about the following. Whether a set of digital credentials under examination by a service or application can vouch for your identity, can attest to your authorization to conduct and transactions you request, whether an access management system can trust the results of the examination enough to grant you access to documents, protected services, or information, whether you personally can trust credentials presented by a website or a web app to represent the business, institution, and agency with which you intend to conduct a transaction. I'm going to jump down. It says data is being collected on you. That much is undeniable. Just today, you've probably thwarted a phishing attempt. The common misconception is that your personal identifiable data, PII, resides natively in some single centralized database. Clearly, Facebook is one of the most aggressive collectors on behavioral data and aggregated, which Facebook is set up by, your government, man. All right, to collect data on you. Instagram, Snapchat, all of these different things. All right, they're collecting facial recognition. They're collecting your location, places that you frequent, so that they can have all of the information on you. All right. Reading on, it says behavior data and aggregated interference about the personal information people post, although it accuses others of harvesting this data. Indeed, social media's ability to influence public perception and opinion may have already changed the course of the world's history. But not even the autonomously collected metadata about everyone's online behavior, despite efforts to protect everyone's privacy, constitutes a collective database of digital identities. Many people who claim to have had their digital identity stolen are actually among thousands of victims of the theft of the database, which includes some elements of personal data such as credit card number. What makes the collection of this data most dangerous to you as a person is a person in the possibility that a system with access to data that authenticates you credentials can pair it with data that describes you metadata. So credentials and metadata, they have those in pretty much highlighted. It says this way, conceivably, a malicious actor can gather this data together from multiple sources to impersonate you and conduct financial and business transactions in your name. So here it is, your identity or your digital identity can be hacked. All right. They can steal your credit card. They can steal your social security. All right. They can steal pretty much any identity they want on you from the web. So there has to be another system that comes about, all right, that prevents them from being able to do so. And that's where your biometrics is going to come in. That's where your facial recognitions and your eye and retina scans are going to come in. That's when your palm and hand readings, all right, or sensors are going to come in hand. And also that's where ultimately the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, is going to come in hand. So reading on, it says digital identity consists of the credentials necessary to gain access to resources in a network or online in your name in the weakest possible secure system. Just as a password may suffice to assume some form of digital identity in an assurance system, for instance, utilizing a web browser so you can read some technology, news sites, or some sites somewhere, public server may only require anonymous credentials, but even then, there's a kind of temporary digital identity representing the browser, which is assumed to represent you. You gained access to the client where the browser was installed. An enterprise network typically requires some form of authentication for you to obtain access, perhaps two-factor authentication, or even more. Those credentials are your digital identity in the context of that network, but not outside the network. On the internet, which is a patchwork of networks linked together, through gateway and sharing a service, requires digital identity to be exchanged in some form. This is the trickiest and most volatile part of the entire digital identity scheme. Now, another thing too, which I have to mention, they're going to have you connected to the IoT, the Internet of Things. And that's the reason why they want to give you the brain-computer interface. All right, so that you can already be connected to the internet. And when you're connected, they're going to know who you are because you have their identity chip, which is the RFID chip. All right, and they have all of the information on you. Personality identity is the amalgam of information necessary for you or anyone seeking to impersonate you to be recognized as valid and to be authenticated. Someone stealing the password to a DMV database might be able to obtain information about your driver's license or to make a model of a car you drive. If that's enough information for someone else and some other transactions to pass this person off as you, then that malicious actor may have effectively stolen your identity. Identity management therefore consists of the practices and principles to which everyone in the transaction process adheres, including yourself, to protect those elements of digital identity that may be combined by a malicious actor to utilize your personal identity. Identity and access management, IAM, is the class of software and services on the computer network side of the transaction dedicated to fulfilling their possibilities to you in that regard. So digital identity and personal identity, you know who you are. However, digital identity is computing system. In a computing system, as you've just seen, is a fuzzy topic. So here it is. People can steal your identity. They can steal your personal identity. So if you had an RFID microchip, or brain chip, it will be harder for them to do that. This is pretty much what E is pushing. So in regards to your finances, what would cause, someone like Mastercard to join the ID2020 alliance? Well, eventually the way that you're going to buy and sell, all right, is going to be through the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. All right, which will also have all of your identity and all of your data, all right, inside of a database, so that when you use your RFID chip, they would know exactly who you are. And this gives Esau the ultimate control over the world and everyone that takes it. So this is Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark of the beast, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. At this time, you should know what the mark is. All right, when you go into the word mark there, the word is charagma. The charagma, all right, is the RFID chip. When you go into the root word of charagma, the word there is charax, which is a syringe that puts the RFID chip inside of your body. But then you go to the root of that, all right, and I believe that the root of that, if I'm not mistaken, all right, maybe grapho, all right, and the grapho is the information that's on the RFID chip. You know, this is something, all right, that was broken down to us by men that have wisdom. All right, because ultimately at the end of the day, these books aren't for everybody. All right, the only ones that can break down these books and these deep revelations are the ones that have wisdom. And that's the reason why it says in verse 18, it says, here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast. Now, what does it mean to count? All right, what does it mean to count? When you go into the word for count, and Salakia, bear with me. Let me read that scripture again. It says, here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man, and his number is 636. What does it mean to count? The word there is sephizo. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, it's Salakia. All right, sephizo. And it says to decide by voting. All right, to give one's vote by casting a pebble into an urn. And usually when it came down to deciding certain things, all right, it was left up to the men that had wisdom. All right, it wasn't just left up to everybody that was a citizen. All right, because everybody doesn't have that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, everybody doesn't have the Holy Spirit. So the word means to decide by voting. All right, everybody doesn't have wisdom, and that's the point. And even when you go into the book of Ezra, all right, certain books of the Bible, it wasn't given to everybody. You had certain books, when they wrote certain books, it was publicized and given unto everybody, but then you had certain books that were kept back and only given to the men of wisdom. And I believe they wrote 204 books. All right, when the Holy Spirit came upon them, they wrote 204 books. You can read about that in 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter. But I'm going to jump down to 2nd Ezra 14 and 45. And it came to pass, when the 40 days were filled, the highest spake, saying, the first that thou hast written, publish openly, all right, that the worthy and unworthy may read it. But keep the 70 last, that thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise amongst the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. And I did so. So you have certain things within the Bible that it would take a man of understanding, all right, to compute, or take a man of understanding to count, you know, so that they can give you understanding of what it truly is. And that's what's being done in regards to the RFID chip. But you still have a bunch of knuckleheads that are out there that aren't listening. All right, so when you count the number of the beast, all right, you will come to terms that the RFID chip, it will have to be the mark of the beast. All right, the number of the beast is 600, 366. So 666, 666. And the word in Greek is kaizai stigma. All right, what is a stigma? All right, Chi, Xi, stigma. When you look at the Chi looks like the Hebrew word for thigh, which is used as a mark. You have the Xi, which looks like a serpent coiling. And then you have the stigma. And the stigma actually means something. Going over to the book of Galatians, all right, the 6th chapter, in the 17th verse, which it reads, it says, "From henceforth let no man trouble me, for I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahweh Shai." So how are the marks put inside of Yahweh Shai's body? All right, the marks that were put inside of Yahweh Shai's body was put inside of his body by way of those spikes that were nailed into his hands. All right, Esau wants to put his stigma inside of you by way of using a syringe to give you the RFID chip. All right, to mark you, to make you a slave, a perpetual slave under him through his system. So the word for stigma, it means to stick or to prick. And that's the root word of estizo. But reading on, it says, a mark pricked in or branded upon the body to ancient Oriental usage. Slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. All right, how do you receive the mark of the beast? All right, Esau has to stick you. He has to prick you. All right, he has to give you the RFID chip. And that's what ties this man's mark of the beast system together. All right, it wouldn't work unless he gives you the RFID chip. The ID 2020 ultimately leads into what? It leads into the RFID chip. Because here it is, you can go paperless, all right, and things of such, all right, but identities still can be stolen. So at the end of the day, you have to put together a system to where, which you're behind all of this anyway. You have to put together a system to where, identities are harder to steal. And that's what they're going to do with this RFID chip. But it's not because they care about you. It's not because they're the ultimate humanitarian. It's because they want total control over you. They want you to be a slave under them. So they're going to cause certain things to happen so that they can pass certain things like getting you registered on their system. All right, passing laws and decrees to get this ID 2020. All right, which is for your protection and which is for your health, which is to help 1.5 billion people or 7 billion people in the world, get on a new system to where their identity can't be stolen, or those that don't have identity, for them to have access to banking and healthcare and, other resources that they would not normally have access to. That's a load of bullshit. Really, it's to enslave you, man. That's what this is all about. So Esau wants to enslave you through the RFID chip. Don't take the chip. I hope that this lesson was edifying. Until the next time, a shalom.